You know, I've gushed on about this game many times on this channel, and yet I've never actually made a proper F-Zero GX video on this channel. Well, except for a throwaway joke one. So, it's only really appropriate for me to talk about the very thing that got me into F-Zero GX in the first place. The pilot themes. This video is going to be pretty simple. I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on all of the 41 F-Zero GX pilot themes, and then afterwards I'm going to be sorting out all of them in a tier list. As usual, this video is my opinion and my opinion alone, so if there's a song that I don't like that you like and vice versa, then that's absolutely okay. However, to be perfectly blunt, I do really love most of these tracks. I just thought I should try challenge myself and see which ones I just prefer over another. And just like that, let's begin the video. Oh dear, it appears that my production value has already decreased. What a major downgrade, am I right? Anyway, I have opened the F-Zero GX Pilots tier list, and let's just get straight into it. We're off to a pretty good start with this guy, as his theme tune is pretty much in line of what you expect with F-Zero GX's soundtrack. It's very mechanical and it uses a lot of synths. In particular, I think the theme even uses a sweet bass near the end, which I very much appreciate. Sometimes it can be a little bit heavy on the ears, but it's still quite an awesome theme, so I'd say B tier. Pilot number 2, we have Jodie Summer. So, get this, she's meant to be like this spokesperson for the Galactic Federation, which is F-Zero's equivalent to basically the police, but she gets a rather calming theme, which I don't really think suits her character all too well. It's very relaxing to listen to. And I argue the only other piece of F-Zero soundtrack that rivals this is the customization theme. For a theme as relaxed as Jodie Summer's, I'd more think of it as a theme more fitting to an introverted character, but it's quite lovely. Gotta put it in C tier because it just simply does not fit Jodie Summer at all. We have Dr. Stewart. And for those who actually play F-Zero GX and listen to the pilot themes, I think you'll know where he's going to go, and call me a bit predictable, but S tier. It is just such a fun listen. It's a very well put together techno track, something that you'll probably hear in an early 2000s nightclub, but I think the best part for me personally would have to be the vocals. It really adds a lot of dimensions to Dr. Stewart's character, so I'm just glad that Dr. Stewart has just such a banger theme tune. If there's really one complaint that I have of it, it's just that I wish in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, his Master Spirit would have his theme tune playing in the background. Imagine how awesome that could have been. Baba's theme is quite unique. It has a lot of bongos and flutes playing in the background. But the part which I really like the most is the vocoders being used. It sounds like if his name is being called out very rhythmically, and I think that's just such a nice touch to the song. It's a bit of a serious theme tune, but not too serious. Much like Baba's character, he's definitely the type of guy that takes racing seriously. With an off track, he literally roasts Captain Falcon. I think he says something like, "It's about time that someone good looking wins this race." I love this guy, A tier. Here comes the guy best known for being an assist trophy in Smash, Samurai Goroh. And yes, to my surprise, he's got a pretty great theme tune as well. It makes him come across as like this fearsome samurai feared by all, when really he's just a bit of a loser who's booed by the audience in the F-Zero GX cutscenes. What I find interesting is that, for some reason, the song uses a very familiar stock sound effect. But then, fortunately, that also leads to what I think is my favorite part of the song. And I think it captures probably what Samurai Goroh thinks of himself, like kind of like the embodiment of his own egotism. So I'd say it's a pretty high A tier. However, Goroh's theme is instantly trumped by Pico's. Now, Pico's is a very, very serious track. It's very ominous sounding. It's sort of very militaristic as well, because in the lore, Pico used to be a former army member before retiring and becoming an assassin, and it just really works so well for Pico's character, even if his voice isn't up to the same level of effort.
The thrill of F-Zero reminds me of the battlefield.
Now we get to the guy that you probably instantly recognize, Captain Falcon. When he's not Falcon punching everyone in Super Smash Bros., Captain Falcon has got a pretty alright theme, in my opinion. It's interesting that it's sung in the perspective of someone who idolizes Captain Falcon. Which I have nothing against. I like this particular part especially. I just think that it's too easily overshadowed by the other F-Zero pilot themes, because this one is just a bit more standard sounding. It almost makes him a bit too heroic, because in actuality, Captain Falcon is a bounty hunter. That's sort of like a moral grey area. But I suppose for arguably the main protagonist of the F-Zero franchise, I suppose it just does fine. Plus, at the end of the song, the guy does a literal impression of Adam Levine from Maroon 5. If you ever hear me in a conversation about F-Zero GX, expect Octoman to be the guy who I talk about the most. And he is my favorite F-Zero pilot, and his theme tune is just so top-notch. His theme is a bit more quiet, but I think it just works really, really well for me. I just really love everything about his theme, the synths, and like, especially the electronic bass in the background. They really sell the song for me, and it's just so catchy. Octoman, he is the cat, he's got a wife and many kids. How the hell did he do that? Yeah, highest tier for me, definitely. Octoman is peak F-Zero. And on the complete opposite spectrum compared to Octoman, we have Mr. EAD. While Octoman's theme is a bit more quieter, and just more focused on what it does, Mr. EAD's theme tune is just wild and hits you with adrenaline. The air guitars certainly help too. And yeah, I really do quite like this theme. It's very well made, especially for someone who's just essentially a joke character representing Nintendo as a whole. What I will say is that the lyrics, or if you can even call them lyrics, are very unintelligible. I don't know what the guy is saying. But it's still a very fun theme. I don't know whether to put him above Baba though. Nice. I'm gonna do it. He is the hero, leader of the team. Dark green and silver is the subtlety. C tier. I mean, it's very fun. I do really like James McCloud's theme, do not get me wrong. I just think it's a bit too basic sounding in comparison. It's still really entertaining though. Now we have Billy, the very definition of capitalism. No, really.
What do you do when you're not racing?
A cut price banana business, door-to-door sales, anything that makes money.
Billy's theme tune may be the shortest out of all the pilot themes, but what it has, it just makes the most out of it, and it slaps hard, especially the guitar and the vocals. It really doesn't have to be this good. It's short and swagger, and it is an S tier for me. Another really good track is Kate Allen. She's meant to be this pop star, so having a sassy and upbeat track really fits that aspect very well. I do wish there would be vocals to fit that aesthetic more, but I still quite like it. It sounds like something you would hear in like a fashion show many years in the future, I suppose. Definitely an A tier. If you watched one of my earlier videos from this year where me and Sibtide recommended new music to each other, chances are you already know how great Zoda's theme is. In the F-Zero universe, he's supposed to be this try-hard and wannabe villain, when really he's just a bit silly and no one can really take him seriously. In the anime, his last name is Strawberry. I know. It's just so ridiculous, and his theme tune encapsulates that perfectly. Compared to the other more serious and darker villain themes of F-Zero GX, this one is pretty much over the top and overly grandiose, which is perfect for Zoda. So yeah, I'd say it is an A tier. Jack Levin is a pop star, like Kate Allen, but unlike Kate Allen, his theme tune has actual vocals.
Take a ride in the night sky, looking good silhouette with my X-ray eyes.
So it's more convincing that his theme is meant to be a song he sung back in his pop star days, which I think is quite a novelty to itself. I think it's just a little bit boring in comparison to Kate Allen's theme. It's not nearly as upbeat, and suffice it to say that I think the beginning part of the song is the best part. It's not one of my favorites. I'd say at the end of C tier. Bio Rex's theme is really just this over-the-top heavy metal track. It has overly aggressive guitar riffs and grunting noises that is very unintelligible, and I'm all here for it. I mean, Bio Rex, he's basically this anthropomorphic dinosaur who, while has some brain functionalities to a human, is still incredibly animalistic, and it just really works perfectly for Bio Rex. Once it gets going, you will definitely not regret listening to this theme tune. Definitely a high A tier. The Skull's theme is quite a standout compared to the other F-Zero pilot themes. It is creepy and a bit foreboding, accompanied by some very eerie instrumentals. And it really fits the Skull's character design very well, even if his personality is just some rather affable guy who just wants to race forever. Pretty neat theme. I'd say it's very high B tier. Antonio Gusto is what you call a satellite character. His motivations all pretty much revolve around Samurai Goroh and how much he hates him for selling him out to the Galactic Federation, and how desperately he wants revenge against him, and that's pretty much the best way you could summarize his personality. It appears that his theme tune also suffers that same fate, as it sounds very similar sounding to another pilot theme we will cover a bit later. Antonio's theme is quite good, don't get me wrong. I just think that Antonio Augusta in general just struggles to find his identity compared to the rest of the F-Zero cast, and I think C is where he should probably belong. If Zoda has an over-the-top villain theme, then I think Beastman has got a bit of an over-the-top superhero theme, and Beastman is not even technically a superhero. He's just a guy donning a dinosaur suit and going around exterminating all animals, because I think a giant crocodile tried eating him in his own planet. It's still quite a fun listen. So I think B tier. B tier for Beastman. Alliteration is always fun. Leon's theme is just pure rock. No synths and no interesting vocals, but still pretty good in its own right. It's not aggressive like Bio Rex's theme, and in honesty, it really doesn't need to be. Because at the end of the day, Leon's a pretty reserved guy. It's not like, you know, he has to deal with the fact that his planet was completely ravaged by war and he lost both his parents at such a young age, and he's not burdened with the fact that his entire species and the next generation depends on him on whether he wins the Grand Prix or not. You know, because Leon's pretty chill about it. C tier. Super Arrow, the actual nemesis to Zoda, and does he get as much of a bang of a theme tune as he does? No, it's just a standard rock and roll song with some lyrics in there, and it's fine. It does what it needs to do. I think it's only really saved by the fact that the guitar portions are pretty darn great.
And I can take you higher than you can relate.
But otherwise, it's pretty standard sounding and not really the most unique F-Zero pilot theme out there. C tier. On the other hand, his wife, Mrs. Arrow, has a much better theme tune in comparison. I just feel that it's a lot more upbeat instrumentally. I like how it's sort of a slight subversion of a romance song. I feel it's more meant to be just her telling Super Arrow not to worry on a racetrack, because they're both in this together. She's an expert racer. I think it's just a lot more interesting compared to Super Arrow. Something I find quite odd with Goroh and Shio, I find them quite unbearable and annoying, but their theme tune is really their biggest saving grace. It's that good. The music genre seems to be more ska in comparison to the trance techno theme that most of these F-Zero pilot themes are going for. And just so you know, I know nothing about ska. I only know about the music subgenre because of Ska and his Imaginators. I kid you not. And I like the detail where the bass that goes like turns into like a guitar riff near the end of the song. Which I think definitely elevates it up to S tier for me. Sylvan Nielsen's theme, I don't really have much of a strong opinion on, and I enjoy it just as much as the other F-Zero pilot themes. The most standout thing about this song is that it uses stereotypically older instruments. I feel that does make perfect sense considering that Sylvan Nielsen is pretty elderly. It's like, what, 99 years old? That's even older than my grandparents. So, but yeah, not a lot to say about Sylvan Nielsen's theme. B tier. Michael Chain's theme is essentially a worse and stripped down version of Antonio Augusta's theme. Both of them I find to be incredibly similar and interchangeable, but at the very least Antonio Augusta's isn't repetitive. With Michael Chain's, all you're hearing is Michael Chain is meant to be a gang member, but when I listen to this theme, I think he's trying to sign up for the NBA. D-tier, not one of F-Zero's finest pilot themes, if you ask me. What's this? Mediocrity? We can't have it in our F-Zero pilot themes. The next one better be good. It's not good. It's a masterpiece. The drums, the synths, the guitars, really all the things I like about the F-Zero pilot themes are already there. But like Billy's theme, it's really the vocals. Now, I know it's sampled from another song, but in here it just works completely well, and it sort of gives it like this edgy tone. Blood Falcon is meant to be Captain Falcon's evil clone, and all that. And beyond his desire to beat his doppelganger and claim victory for himself, there's nothing much else you could say about Blood Falcon. But this song makes me generally believe that there's more to Blood Falcon's character than meets the eye. Does Blood Falcon want to go his whole life knowing that he'll always be overshadowed by Captain Falcon, the champion of the F-Zero Grand Prix, and do nothing but commit atrocities with his master Black Shadow? Does he really want that sort of lifestyle? It's interesting stuff like that which I feel is represented quite well with this theme tune. When the guitars change melody into a more tragic one, that's when the song really kicks in for me. This is easily, without a shadow of a doubt, my favorite F-Zero pilot theme. None of the other pilot themes can top this one. I think it's definitely worth a full listen. And it also definitely makes up for the fact that Blood Falcon's machine is absolutely garbage. We're continuing on a pretty good streak with John Tanaka. John Tanaka's theme tune is clearly going for a more retro style. I find this theme tune to have a bit of an interesting story behind it. You see, John Tanaka is actually named after hero Zoda Tanaka, who composed many music from the SNES and NES eras of Nintendo. So therefore, when making John Tanaka's theme, they thought it would be quite interesting to make it in a more retro style. And it surprisingly works. Just for the interesting story alone, it sort of elevates my appreciation of this theme tune more. This is a fair spot for it. This is Drac. He's a gremlin looking like fellow who just so happens to be a delivery man, and oh yeah, he's also the biggest F-Zero fan on the planet. I can imagine this song being played in a futuristic dock scenery. It's short and pretty much straight to the point. I think if I... let me just move Captain Falcon to B tier because C tier is getting a bit too crowded now. Then we have Drac's delivery business partner, Roger Buster. This guy is a delivery man. A pretty mundane job. His theme does not need to go as hard as it does. And I especially love the little solo the air guitar gets near one of the end of the verses. High A tier, without a question. Dr. Clash's theme is one of the lesser memorable of the F-Zero pilot themes. The main melody of this song is that there's some mechanical sound effects that's repeated over and over again. There are a lot of redeeming qualities to this track though, as I do quite like the nice synths that happen near the end of the song. It does help that its pilot theme is set in the beach, D-tier. It's not one which I listen to regularly. Black Shadow's pilot theme is another fan favorite one, although unlike Dr. Stewart's, I think it's a little bit overrated in comparison. That doesn't mean it's bad, in fact I quite like it. The dark heavy basses really suit his character's design very well, as he's meant to be this menacing and imposing villain. Additionally, the vocal sampling is actually pretty good as it adds a very eerie and almost ominous vibe. But I say almost, cause then in the main part of the song, it just reuses some vocal tracks. Now, whether you associate these vocal samplings with Black Shadow or Blood Falcon really depends on which track you listen to first, but I don't think it's nearly as cool sounding as when it's used in Blood Falcon's theme. So, I think B tier. B tier for Black Shadow. Oh, there you go. Alliteration all over again. Deathborn is technically the main villain of F-Zero GX, and in typical big bad fashion, his theme tune is very orchestral. But I really don't think it works the best at all with Deathborn, as I feel it's trying a bit too hard. And once again, the same vocals used in Black Shadow and Blood Falcon's theme are used, and it just feels forced this time around. With Black Shadow, at the very least, it sort of fits the mood of his theme tune, but it just really does not with Deathborn in my opinion. I personally think that Aegis' remix of Deathborn's theme is much better suited to Deathborn's overall character, and I heavily recommend you to check it out. Alright, now we're in the final stretch, the 10 F-Zero AX pilots. Don Genie's theme takes a lot of inspiration from the Godfather theme tune. I also quite like an accordion they used in the opening. I feel that it makes Don Genie stand out as this sort of Mafia Boss-esque sort of character. I think Don Genie definitely deserves a B tier for his theme. Digi-Boy's character essentially, actually, according to my calculations, I devised the perfect machine and I'll help me win the Grand Prix, or something like that. And you may expect his theme tune to be something completely nerdy and sort of lame. Cue Digi-Boy's theme.
It's not the way, but it's the way understood. I know the way you're thinking, what you're gonna do next, and I can feel the way you want me to feel, but it's the logic and reason that keeps me away.
I really don't get how F-Zero can make the lamest of characters have some of the best themes in the entire game, and it's my second favorite F-Zero pilot theme. If there's any pilot theme I would want to turn into a full-blown song one day, it's definitely Digi-Boy. When you hear that guitar riff kick in before the chorus, that's when you know you're gonna have a really good time. Although at this point the chances of Dai-Sanjin ever returning to an F-Zero game is incredibly slim, what I will say is that I quite like the theme tune. It's incredibly relaxing, especially the part where they just have the electric bass and the xylophones playing in the background. I really love that bit especially. I do wish the song would find a more creative way to loop, since it sort of just ends and suddenly begins again. So I wish they could do something more creative with that front. But it doesn't really hurt the ranking too much, so C tier. Alright, now we get to my favorite F-Zero AX racer, that being Spade. and I do have an interesting story behind this one. When I was a lot younger, my mom used to play some specific albums in the car if we were traveling someplace far away or simply to my primary school. A lot of these albums I still listen to even to this day, but one of the ones we would listen to on occasion is Violator by Depeche Mode. As a young lad, I was quite allured into the whole vibe this album produced with its electronic beats. And if you wonder what my favorite song from this album is, it's track number 2, Sweetest Perfection. So, Beyond a Hero, why did you bring up Depeche Mode in this conversation? Simply put, Spade reminds me of the album Violator. Sometimes when I listen to this theme, I hear the vocals of David Gahan. I just love the charm that this theme tune uses for Spade. It's quite mysterious and enigmatic, much like Spade himself. I mean, God knows what's under that mask. The very fact that this theme tune reminds me of one of my favorite albums of all time really gives it an S tier for me. Now, I am aware that that last pick was particularly influenced by my nostalgia, but do keep in mind that I love all these pilot themes. I think they're all great. There's just some which I prefer over another. But this pilot theme, I do not like. Samurai Goroh's theme was excellent, but unfortunately, the apple fell very far from a tree with Die Goroh. Now, I don't think his theme is poorly composed, but that's really about the only positive I would give it. I just find it incredibly annoying. The guitar sounds like a stereotypical college theme, and the vocals, which sound more like football chants, if anything, sound like something that would come out of a Beano. It's another rock theme, but even then it's completely overshadowed by Leon and Bio Rex's theme, and in general I think this theme tune just gets completely obliterated by the other 40 pilot themes. It just gives me a complete headache and I just hate it so much, so F tier. Die Goroh. More like to die Goroh. Trincia the Mode's theme I have even less of an opinion on than Silver Nielsen's theme, but what I can say is that it correctly assumes that I'm afraid of the dark. And with that, I'll say a decent C tier. Lily's theme, on the other hand, is another one of my favourites. She's another, albeit unwilling, operative of the Galactic Federation, and her theme tune is more militaristic than Jodie Summer and John Tanaka's. And I especially love the change in drum pattern, as well as the long drawn-out synths that accompany it. It's more of a colder and dire theme tune compared to the other F-Zero GX themes, and I really adore it. So it's an S tier for me. PJ is an odd, beady-eyed creature who just so happens to also be a taxi driver. I'm not surprised he has a pretty groovy theme. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's just not one of my personal favorites. C tier, alright. I might have lied about Jodie Summer being the most calming theme tune in F-Zero GX, because if Jodie Summer's theme is calming, then Q3's theme is just downright therapeutic. The chill, bouncy synths just emanates a very wholesome vibe out of this theme tune, and as opposed to Jodie Summer's theme, it actually fits quite nicely with Q3's overall character, since he's a very nervous robot. I'd definitely say A tier, and while we're at it, let's move some other F-Zero pilots up to A tier too. Now we're on to the final F-Zero GX pilot, and what better theme tune to end it on than Phoenix's. The opening verses, and especially the chorus, makes this theme one of my favorite F-Zero GX pilot themes. Phoenix's character is established very well with this theme tune's lyrics. You get the sense that he's from the future, but also it really works as a bragging theme tune. He basically says to you, no matter what time period you live in, the Tudors, the Stone Age, the Middle Ages, the very far distant future, if you're on his target list, he will come after you. Because Phoenix is dedicated to his job to keeping the space-time continuum stable, Phoenix is definitely going into S tier. It's only fair that we end this tier list with an absolute banger. And with the F-Zero palette theme tier list finished, this video unfortunately has to come to a close. But I am curious, what are your favorite F-Zero GX pilot themes? I'm open to any opinions. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next video.